Richard was there a minute ago, right? Did we lose Richard?
I think he lost connection.
Okay,
We are live.
great. Well, good evening. Welcome to this evening's meeting for the Terrace Lodge Comforts of Home campaign. This is our June meeting. It's already flying by very quickly, but very happy to be here on June 20th. Why don't we do quick introductions again, since we've got, the last few meetings, we haven't had everybody at once, so if that's okay. Who would like to start? We'll start in the chambers. Dan?
Ruth Ann Parent.
Nice.
Kay Haynes. JB Chapman.
And Dominique Giguère.
Catherine Thompson.
Amaryllis Drulard.
And who do we have with us online this evening?
Christine Leonard, Terrace Lodge Administrator.
Thank you.
I'm Amanda Pride. I'm with Eastlink Community TV and a guest this evening, so I hope I'm helpful.
Welcome.
Wonderful, welcome indeed. Okay, well, let's get started then with, now that the meeting has been called to order, then let's approve the agenda for June 20th. Anything you want to add or change? Everybody has received it? If there are no changes, then mover and seconder to approve the agenda. Jamie? Amaryllis?
Amaryllis Juilliard.
Yes.
Pete Barber.
Yes.
Ruth Ann Parent.
Yes.
Jamie Chapman.
Yes.
Kay Haynes.
Yes.
Counselor Giguère.
Yes.
6-0, the motion is carried.
Thank you. Let's look at the minutes from May 16th. They were also in your package if you've had a chance to look at them. Any errors or omissions? Looks good. May I have a mover and seconder to approve the minutes of our May 16th meeting? Ruth Ann? Amaryllis? And the vote.
Amaryllis Juilliard.
Yes.
Pete Barber.
Yes.
Ruth Ann Parent.
Yes.
Richard Kasul. Is Richard here? Maybe he
I
doesn't.
think we lost connection with Richard.
He's back.
Oh, is he back?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Jamie Chapman.
Yes.
Kay Haynes.
Yes.
Counselor Giguère.
Yes.
6-0, the motion is carried.
Anyway. He's waving anyway. Yeah.
I can't tell if it's a GIF or like a video, a recording. Yeah, I hope you're,
Yeah.
can you hear us okay, Richard? Maybe, the connection might be a, may not have a connection strong enough to hear you. Do you have the phone number to call in? 'Cause that, so one option, you could turn off the camera. The second option would be to disconnect and just call in.
Yeah.
He's asking if you can hear him.
And we can't hear you. I mean, we can hear the sound, but it's very, very slow
Can't hear you.
and choppy.
Okay, let me call in.
Oh, now that might be a little bit better, so we can try that.
How's that?
Okay, thank you, Richard.
All right.
Yeah, we can, that's better.
Okay.
We could try that if you'd like.
All right.
Okay, thank you then. We'll try that for a bit. Next is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Want to declare any? Seeing none? We can go to our delegation and our special guest from Eastlink. Thank you. Welcome again to our meeting. And thank you, Jamie, for bringing this potential opportunity forward. I think the whole committee is looking forward to hearing what this is all about, and I'm sure lots of questions. And just for the committee, we don't have to make a decision tonight necessarily. We'll just take it all in, ask questions. We can take the time to reflect and decide at a later date. So, but for now, happy to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, thank you very much for having me tonight. I do prefer to speak to a whole committee. I find that usually when I do, questions come up and you get a little bit more conversation and dialogue about some of the options that we can provide. So Eastlink Community TV, as I hope all of you know, is your local community broadcaster for the general region. We're one of the cable providers, internet providers, home phone providers in your area. But one of the things we do is community television. So just for everyone's benefit, I will just kind of give you a little, just tiny little nugget about what community TV does and is. We're basically mandated to be for the community, created by the community. So a lot of the content, 90% of the content you see on our channel is created by members of the community who've had ideas for programming or fundraising, as you guys are approaching us with for Terrace Lodge, or some sort of event that they want coverage for. Basically, what we provide is that television understanding. So we provide all the technical support and help you with scripting and writing and anything that you might need help with. But the content is something that you come to the table with, that you create. So you do have that ownership to it. So you're really the producers of your own program. We're just really your crew. Is kind of how it works. So for fundraisers, there's a couple of different things that we've done in the past that work extremely well. I'm going to touch on two of them tonight, though there are other options. The two that I think you're most interested in and that do make the most money, which most charities are very eager to hear about how to make the most money, are different types of telethons. So there's two different ways we can go about it. One is more like a pledge drive, something like you would see on PBS, for example, when they do their annual fundraiser, their pledge drive, something in that vein, where we interlace stories about your organization into our daily programming. We've done this in the past 2 years for Easter Seals. Here in Northeastern Ontario, we are a huge supporter of Easter Seals. We do their annual telethon, and obviously during the pandemic, we could not gather. We could not do it the way we used to do it. So we switched models and went to that pledge drive model, which was really nice because it gave the organizers a little bit of a breather and a time to take sort of a break from doing all of the work. It is a lot of work to run a telethon. And basically we were able to help them raise money that way. We had some of our our regular community producers, so folks who have shows on the channel, recorded little messages from home in support of donating to Easter Seals. And we had stories of success, stories about client success, their ambassadors, all that kind of stuff feathered in throughout the day, where your money goes, how it's used, and what the benefit of donating was. And that happened from, I think, 9 o'clock in the morning straight through until 7 o'clock at night. We hosted on behalf of Easter Seals 2 live hours of television where we had a couple of our staff members who are comfortable on air and who are trained to be on air, basically ran sort of that pledge drive for an hour, trying to encourage people to call in and get online and donate. And we did more of sort of check presentations and things like that from local sponsors that had provided funding to these to Easter Seals. We went out and shot like a little interview basically with them, handing over the check to Easter Seals, very well socially distanced, as you can imagine. Those checks are the perfect size for social distance measuring, by the way. They are exactly 6 feet. Perfect. So that was great. It was built right in. It didn't look odd or anything. It worked. So that was one of the things that we did over the last 2 years, and found that it was successful. Not as successful as a full telethon, but very successful. and was less work than a full telethon. A full telethon, obviously, it's several live hours of television, and really the onus becomes on you to do that work and to fill those hours. And we can help provide content, we can help collect content, but ultimately, how you're going to fill those hours kind of becomes up to you. So, in a more traditional telethon model, what you would see is we usually do anywhere between 3 and 5 hours. Anything kind of over 5 hours, we find drags on a little bit, depending on the time of year. Um, Depending on the time of year, I'll be perfectly honest, we carry a lot of sports. So depending on the time of year, you know, our best watched program is OHL hockey. So we don't like to lose too much of that if we can avoid it. So anything over 6 hours tends to run into other programming that we're either nationally obligated to run or is, you know, just a really high viewership, high profile piece of content that we don't want to lose. Um, but at 5 hours, basically, what we recommend you fill that 5 hours with is check presentations from, you know, obviously all of your local supporters. We recommend, again, having us come out and ahead of time and do those nice stories and create these pretty little packages, sort of intensities, if you will, talking about who your clientele is, why you're an important organization for your community, you know, volunteers, staff, any kind of real, I mean, it's not, I doubt very much that it's difficult for you guys to find those emotionally driven stories in what you do in your community. So very much like Easter seals, it's very easy for them to tell a good heartfelt story that makes people want to open their wallets and pick up the phone and call. In those in-person settings as well, you're going to have sort of a live phone bank. So, you know, there is that sort of risk of having all of these people sitting at phones and them not ringing much. So there's a ton of advertising that has to go in ahead of time. We can provide the phone bank as well. That's something that we can wire up for you, no problem, at no cost to you. I should mention none of this costs anything, just your time, which is a lot, but it's free, so to speak. It doesn't cost any cash or overhead, except really where you want to do advertising. I know Easter Seals in the past has usually set aside a little bit of money to do some advertising here in Sudbury, in particular, because it's the largest market that they service. I would recommend the same, you know, whether it's print ads or a billboard or whatever it works in your community is the best medium for your community. And over the course of those several hours, you can do a couple of different things. I know we've seen in the past VIP challenges where you challenge wealthy members of your community, business owners, counselors have been hit up around Sudbury in the past, that have a good network of people, and you challenge these two folks head to head and see who can raise the most money for you over the course of that hour. And you check in with them regularly as part of that live program. And of course, the regular updates. We want to know what you're raising. So we're going to be constantly talking about, so far we've reached this benchmark. Help us get to the next one, right? Whether you choose to go with staff members here at Eastlink, we do have a couple of staff members who are very good at telethon. We've done it, like I said, for years up here in Sudbury, so we are able to loan some staff for that. Or if you have radio personalities, or just, you know, people that you know that are comfortable with being on TV and that can speak directly to your organization and to your goals, then that's always it's always better to have familiar faces from your community hosting these, or being sort of like guest hosts throughout those hours. You know, depending on you know, how you want to run the sort of sponsorship end of it, and that's really why it becomes so much work for you all when you do the full breadth of a telethon, because now you're looking for someone to sponsor your phone bank and sponsor your VIP and sponsor this part of it, sponsor that part of it. Each hour can have a different sponsor to it, and that money is yours. We're not asking for anything. Basically, we have to follow a certain set of rules for advertising. You can't sell commercials For example, that's not what we do. But there are things that you can do that are well within our regulations that you are able to, again, add to that profit margin that you can include in your final total as well. So that's kind of a high level, very quick overview of the two different styles that I would recommend. Obviously, it depends on how much time you have. If you're looking at a shorter length of time, I would highly recommend doing the pledge drive version. If you've got 6 months, 7 months, 8 months to really think, plan, and build something, then do the full telethon. I would recommend that. You will make more money with a full telethon versus a pledge drive. We've seen that, and that may have been pandemic related or not. We're not really sure, but based on what we know so far, that's where you'd see, you're going to see the most amount of money on our end anyway. So I kind of wanted to get an idea of what you guys were looking for and a little bit more about what your goals for a sort of a big splashy on TV fundraiser might look like. What are you sort of aiming to raise through something like this?
Thank you. Thank you for getting us started with some exciting ideas. So I'll turn it over to, as far as goals, like it's not something we've discussed yet because it was a bit of chicken and egg. We needed to hear more about what was possible and how things work then for us to consider what would be a goal and if this is something we wanted to pursue. So while the committee members think about questions, I will also just put our little caveat to keep in mind. Just the logistics of this committee. So we are a committee until November 14th. So officially, we're a standing committee until November 14th. Of this year. And it may be just an administrative process, but we have to take into account that the next council, like county council, needs to approve the next membership. So we're going to make it as simple as possible, but we have to respect the fact that the terms of reference of this committee means that we have to officially, I think we're dismantling, like we're ending the committee, and like I said, we may not actually feel it. We're just like a paper process where the next council will then vote on endorsing whether the committee will continue, fundraising will continue, and all committee members who are interested in continuing will then be put on the committee. So when you said, I just tweaked to that when you said maybe 6 to 8 months to prepare, we have to decide whether as a committee, being that we can't guarantee for sure that we will be the next committee or whether there will be a committee, whether we either look at a shorter time frame and do something smaller that we can deliver before November 14th. Or, I mean, we know that technically this campaign was set for 3 years, so it will likely go, but we can't assume, but it will likely go 1 full year, so we could defer this opportunity, discuss it right now, and defer it to the next committee. Like do you know what I mean? Like the next council endorsed committee. So just some. Yes, I hope everybody will be, like I said, we may not even feel it. Just all this like little check boxes and votes and resolutions that will happen. But we can't take anything for granted.
Now, I will say you can try to mount one between now and say late September would be my ballpark for you. It's just a very tight timeline to make the kind of money that you could make if you had that time to really kind of prepare, right? I don't know what I like I said, I'm based out of Sudbury. While I do manage all of Ontario, I am only just really started getting my feet wet in Southwestern Ontario. So I don't know your community as well as you do, and whether or not you'll be able to, to rally enough people to create a full telethon in a short order. If it's possible and you know your community better than me, then by all means, go for it. But I don't want to, I would hate to recommend that. And then you guys are rushing to get something done that maybe doesn't pay out the way you want it to, or pay off the way you want it to.
For the effort.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's because it is a lot of effort. Right?
Yeah, Jamie?
And this is just the way my crazy brain works. So if we decide to do just a pledge now, what is the chances of us being able to do a telethon later? Would we have the opportunity to do both, or is this a one-time thing?
No. So as I mentioned with Easter Seals here in Northeastern Ontario, we do that every year. So if Terrace Lodge was interested in doing a telethon every year, even outside of your campaign for whatever other funding you might need or operational costs or anything like that, then that's an option. But as you're going forward with your campaign as it is right now, we would recommend doing one a year. I wouldn't recommend doing multiple in a year. We find that it kind of overloads the community, especially when you consider that you're already in the community asking for donations and then you put this out, right? So I would do one or the other this year, and then next year look at doing the other if that's what you're interested in doing.
Other questions? Yes. Catherine?
If we were to decide to do a pledge drive, you mentioned the stories interlaced into the daily programming.
Yep.
Approximately how many stories, and in terms of generating that content, I think maybe you mentioned that you would help with the filming?
Yes.
Or is that something?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we would do, what I would recommend is that you would decide on the stories that you want to tell. So I mentioned a couple of examples, like maybe you've got volunteers, staff, a little bit about your services, what the money is going toward, sort of like an overall kind of general who we are, what we do, depending on the kinds of stories you think are necessary to inform the community about what you're doing. So you kind of come up with that list of what those stories should be. And then Ben, who works out of our Simcoe office, would come up for a whole day, 2 days, whatever it takes, and record all of these stories and package them for you. So he'd do all the interviews. Really, what you're doing, what you'd be responsible for is picking the people, making sure that they arrive when they're supposed to, and having a location that you want us to record in, a space to record in. That would be sort of your hand, and then hand in it. And then our hand in it is to come in. We do all the technical. So we'll set up the lights. We'll do all the recording, the interviews, to really kind of get the sense of the stories that you want. And then we package it all together. And over the course of the day we did last time, I knew you were going to ask. So I pulled up my run order from last time, just to take a quick look here. 2, 3, 4. There was 9 stories altogether, and that was stories. And then there were a selection of check presentations, which again is something else that we can do in a day. But it just takes a little bit of organizing on your end, to make sure that everybody's where they're supposed to be and at the time they're supposed to be. And those are very, very simple. You can choose either members of the committee or somebody from staff members or folks from the facility to be sort of the recipient of the checks. It's always good to have someone there who plays like the host role. So they'll say, this is Bob, and Bob's from Bob's Mechanics, and he's donating, $5,000 on behalf of him and his staff. And we thank you very much. Why did you feel it was important to donate today? Well, because of this, that, and the other. Thanks for your time, and thanks for your donation. And then they're really short. They're like max 90 seconds kind of thing, like a minute and a half, not very long at all. It takes longer to set them up than it does to shoot them. Really, once you kind of get into them. And those we use during the 2 live hours. So like I mentioned, during the pledge drive, we did 2 live hours. One of them is sort of a midday, which kind of updates us. So we are still encouraging people. We have like a little ticker tape at the bottom of the screen all day long that says, call this number, donate today, go to this website, donate today. And that airs throughout all of our programming for the duration of your pledge drive. So that's on the air no matter what program we're airing. And then at that sort of midday live update, you'll have had to provide us with, here's, maybe there's some key donors that came in, like Easter Seals calls it their angel board. And it's basically anybody who donates over a certain threshold gets their name mentioned on the air. So maybe that's something you wanted to do. We could do something like that. Where we thank some of the specific donors who have called in or made online donations. And then we run those check presentations. And again, we're doing that whole spiel where you've given us a list of what you want us to say and talk about. And we're just regurgitating that for an hour, basically, to get people, to remind people that this is important, that people need to come call in and go online. And then at the very end of the day, we do the second live hour, and that's really our final push and our wrap up. So at that last final live hour is, again, last few check presentations that we'd shot weeks ago. Magic of TV. Shot those weeks ago. And then we've got, your final total, the big reveal at the end, and getting to thank everybody for everything that they've done to help out. So that's kind of how that's how we've structured it. That doesn't mean that's how you have to structure it. We've just had success with that model. You could do one live hour. You could do them as a half hour. It really sort of depends on what your feel is, and whether or not you want that live hour in your community, or if you don't care if it comes out of our studio, because our studio is in Simcoe. So if we're in your actual community, then we actually could leverage a local celebrity or someone who's well known in the community to be that host, instead of having one of the Eastlink staff members do it, so that you do have that sort of community connection with your program, which is always nice to have. So that is something to take into consideration with that pledge drive, where you'd want your live hour to be hosted from and who you might want to host that live hour or to, depending on what you choose.
So maybe a silly question, but so who watches Eastlink? Only, like, who's your market, and like where's the reach? Because I don't get Eastlink, even if I wanted to, where I live. And so I'm trying to compare where the target audience, like who would know Terrace Lodge and who would want to donate to Terrace Lodge versus who is watching and who could and would be watching this telethon.
So our demographics skew older. It is older members of our population that still that still buy cable, I guess, as regularly as they do. So you're looking at folks who are sort of 45-ish. People with kids often will have cable, as well as senior citizens. So you do kind of run a broad spectrum of finances, if that makes sense. You're going to have, as you skew older and older, you run the risk of seeing people that maybe don't have a lot to donate, or parents who don't have a lot to donate, or, things like that. In terms of the communities, so one of the things I will tell you is that it would air in all of Southwestern Ontario, where Eastlink is the service provider. So you're looking at, okay, off the top of my head, Aylmer, Simcoe, Hanover, Goderich, Port Elgin. Those are the 5 major centers. And then there are points also sort of in between. So I know we're in Clinton, Mount Forest. Oh gosh, there's another little community right near Port Elgin that I can't think of. I can see it on the map though. I'm so sorry. And it's sort of like the smaller communities in between. I know Listowel is another one that we're in. So there's it would air in that entire region, all the way up. I think it's Walkerton is as far north as we go in that region.
Okay,
I can provide you a better map. I apologize. I probably should have had that one prepared for you, but I can provide you a proper list of the communities that see our channel. But we do, I mean, in your area, in southwestern Ontario, we do have several bingos, and those bingos do extremely well. So in terms of fundraisers, we know that the community is very generous as a whole, and so I would expect that folks would be equally generous, especially if you've got something in your community that benefits the larger regional community. I know here in Sudbury, anytime we talk about our hospice, it's all over northeastern Ontario donating because Sudbury is that sort of hub for us in this area, right? Our cancer hospital, same thing. Our pediatric hospital, same thing. So I expect that even though this may not be as well known in certain parts of the region, it's something that should be talked about in those parts of the region because it is something that, depending on your geography, you're very well likely to, you may need one day, and knowing about those services and making sure that they're, well funded is always a priority in any community. So I think you'll do very well based on the kind of organization that you are as well.
great. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Continues to sort of enlighten our decision-making process. Other questions? Anyone online? Pete or Richard? No questions?
That was very clear. Thank you, Amanda.
Okay.
No problem at all.
Yeah, Catherine?
My question was just about the actual collecting of funds. So, in terms of how, when during a pledge drive, how are the funds collected? Is it the same that there are people answering phones, or we do have an online donation website? So, is it more about promoting, directing people there? And does Eastlink collect the funds on our behalf and then distribute them to us, or how does that work?
No, so if you need phone banks or anything like that, extra lines, we will help you with that. We have no part in the money collection at all, other than to promote where to send your money. So that is ultimately up to you guys how you choose to do that collection. So whether if you want to just push online, that's an opportunity, that's a choice. You can make that choice. That's not a problem. If you have an office that has a multi-line system that you're able to use in your community, then that's an option. Or if you need us to install a phone bank for you so that you have a multi-line system for the day, we will do that for you as well. I should be clear about that part of it, though, that when we do that phone bank thing, it doesn't cost anything, but Eastlink Business is responsible for it, not Community TV. So they do ask for a little in kind, like put our logo somewhere, thank us, make us sound good, that kind of thing.
Yes, of course. It would be fun to be around the chambers with everybody on the phone.
That's absolutely an option, honestly. That would be,
Jeannie?
Amanda, I'm just curious. I know that each fundraiser is different, but can you give us an idea of the amount of funds that organizations have raised during this so that we know whether it's worth our time to do it?
Yeah. So I will say that telethons are kind of counted funny. Right? So telethons have a tendency to be sometimes a culmination or a year-end fundraiser,
Yes.
right? So you'll see a check presentation from an event that was provided. It's already money that they had in hand, but it's sort of like this is the official, and that's counted in the final tally. So, for example, on a regular Easter Seals telethon, the final total that we'll announce is $350,000. In reality, that's $100,000 from this event and another $50,000 from that event, and then so on and so on. The drive itself, the telethon itself, has fluctuated over the years. Anywhere between 30 and 50,000 is usually. I am guessing a little bit there, but that's kind of the ballpark. I know when we first did the first online pledge drive, we were we were stunned that it came in, I think at 35 or 40. We weren't expecting it to come in that high. And it did both years. I think it was a lower the second year, but again, we weren't sure if that was pandemic fatigue or, you know, we weren't really sure why. So
Good question, Jamie. Thank you for that, Amanda. Anything else? I mean, not to say if we think of something else later, I'm sure we can reach out back to you, Amanda, but I think,
absolutely.
just to get us started with that consideration, everybody's okay? Yeah. So I will thank you very much for making the time for us and the time of our meeting. So much appreciated, and it sounds like we might be in touch.
I have,
Great.
Jamie, one more question.
Dominique had mentioned that it would be cool if we could do it here. Are we limited to where we can have this phone bank?
I would have to ask the guys in engineering to be sure of where. As far as I know, I would assume that the council facility is fairly centrally located, so it probably wouldn't be any kind of issue. That said, I'd have to do a quick double check to make sure.
Okay.
It's always best to give us a couple options if we're not doing it on a one of our sites. But if the chambers is something that you're looking at specifically, then knowing that, I could always find that out and just kind of give you that heads up if you'd like.
Okay, the reason for my question is the county chambers are outside of Eastlink's area. Yeah, that's why I'm asking that question. So it's in St. Thomas, which is not Eastlink area.
Right, okay.
So does that present a problem? We would have to find
That,
something else.
yes, that might. Thank you for clearing that up for me. That might. Yeah, yeah, thank you. You're likely going to need to be in one of the service communities. So
Okay.
that's a fair point. I don't know that for sure, but I would assume so.
Terrace Lodge is in Eastlink community, but
Yeah.
county,
That's right. So
Is
we
not.
could do Malahide, Elmer Chambers.
yes, I was already thinking that. We could do 1 hour in one, 1 hour in the other.
And over to you, Elmer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again, and like I
No
said,
problem at all.
we'll be in touch.
Excellent. And like I said, if you have any questions, follow-ups or anything like that, feel free to shoot me an email anytime. And hopefully I'll be able to answer any questions that come up. And we look forward to working with you guys. Best of luck with everything, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Wonderful. So I don't know if, just looking at the agenda, do you want to debrief a little bit now, sort of maybe give a hint to where you're leaning in terms of trying perhaps to do something shorter, like the pledge drive before mid-November, and then next year we could consider a full, I was going to say marathon, but I think it would take a marathon then to get to the telethon. But what are your thoughts? What's your initial reaction? Something we should continue exploring? Perilous? Yeah.
I think so. I think that the pledge drive is, I mean, it's doable in this time frame, and maybe you just stay with the pledge drive
Yeah.
if it works out well. I mean, we do have the community stories that we all were
Yeah.
saw.
So you say go for it and do the real thing for September?
No,
Just the pledge?
Just the pledge for the next year?
yes,
Yeah, before mid-November anyway, yeah.
yeah. And if we have good success, just stick with it. I don't know.
Yeah. Either
was
stick with
thinking.
it or then go for the full.
Or go
For the full thing. Okay, other thoughts, reactions? Is that something of interest?
No, I think it's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Worth a try.
It'll be fun if nothing
It would
else.
be fun, I would agree with Stephen, for the committee, we haven't had a chance to really do things together for many obvious reasons. And this could be a nice, and I'm thinking just community of the committee, us in the community, and, okay,
polish up your dance shoes.
yes. One thing I'll make a note of, one question I didn't ask was whether we get to, who owns the stories once they're shot? Because I could see also reusing them
Right.
for our own, like on social media, for Christmas, for, a number of reasons. So hopefully, so that's something we can follow up and clarify, because I think that gives it even more value because they're produced professionally by a full crew. And if we have ownership of them, or at least the right, perhaps with the, produced by Eastlink, I wouldn't have any problem with that, but that would be nice if we could get a lot of mileage out of those stories. Okay, so what do you suggest as next steps? Should we?
We need a commitment from our members because this is gonna take all of us.
Yeah.
So that would be the first step, is a commitment from us
Yeah.
and from the Terrace Lodge staff,
Yes.
and then go from there.
So on the committee, I think it would be nice if there was at least one lead person on the committee to be the liaison with Eastlink and with staff to, for example, I could see the next step, like perhaps not being able to vote tonight, but almost drafting a proposal. Here's a potential date, what it would involve, checking with Terrace Lodge staff, double checking a couple of things with Eastlink, like doing a bit of that legwork. So it's like, okay, what do you think, committee? And then coming back to the committee for a full discussion. But we would need, I could say almost everybody looking on the floor right now, but it would be nice if somebody could take the lead or just be that contact point and facilitating. Is anyone prepared to volunteer for at least that?
She's looking at me and I'm looking at her. I haven't even met each other yet.
And perhaps just commit to that first step to take it to a proposal stage for consideration by the committee. Then, once we have a proposal, then we can also assess how many people we need, like who needs to do what. But I think that first step would be great. So I'm not looking anywhere, so that no one feels pressured. But I am listening. I'm not looking, but I'm listening.
I would like to say yes, but I can't commit because I have something coming up that would I don't have a date for it, and when it happens, it will restrict what I can do. So I can't commit to it now, even though I'd like to. So if somebody else is doing it, I'd be more than happy to help them. I just can't commit to doing it because I will be incapacitated for a few weeks, so.
Right, okay, that's perfectly understandable, but could be the gray hand.
I would love to, if I was sitting here with you next year, I would certainly commit to it, but I have a lot of things coming up on my plate, so at this time, I'd like to, yeah,
For the next 3-4 months, like,
Yeah.
which is what this would be.
yeah. So,
And that's perfectly fine too, like, again, it has to fit with what everybody is, like, availability. So there's time, if it's not between now and the mid-November, which is a short time, but it can be next year. Can be our, like, a key sort of rallying point for next year. Richard, did I hear?
Yeah, yes, I was going to say, if somebody is willing to jump on this with me, I can be able to take it on. My busy tax season ends June, end of June. Then I have up to the 7th of July to wrap up the tax season. So I know for sure that I can definitely give my very all from August. So if somebody is willing to jump on there with me, I have my name down.
Nice. Jamie, do you think that would might fit if you're able to be like assistant, right?
I can be the assistant.
Yeah.
I just have to know that there'll be a time where I have to back off and
Right.
let them do it.
Yeah, and maybe somebody else on the committee can we can tag team. So Richard, so it sounds like you will have backup. So we might take turns helping you out, but if you're willing to take the lead, I think that would be much appreciated.
Okay. So, is it okay for me to take lead from around about August? I will have wrapped up my tax season.
I think so. I think because I would say it will be a proposal stage. If you find, if part of your putting this proposal together ends up saying, you know what, we can't do this before mid-November, but all the legwork will have been done so that we can choose to defer it, or we can choose to jump right in and everybody. So I think it's worth, even if you start in August, I think it's worth it.
Okay. Okay.
Should we do a resolution by the committee?
Before we go forward, we have a representative of Terrace Lodge. What do you think of this?
Yes, Christine, yes. Thank you, Jamie.
It sounds great, and I could maybe help out where possible. We're just right now working on our occupancy plan for moving the residents into the home, but I could certainly, I'd be willing to give a hand where was needed.
And would we be able to do some filming there?
I would think so, yes. I think we could set up, especially in the warmer weather, like we could maybe do some things outside. I don't know if that works, but we could try it. We could set up like an area at the entrance and have, you know, some of the stories there and whatnot. Yeah, I think we could make it work for sure. It would be exciting.
And maybe we could do some videos of the old
The
and
transition.
maybe like some of the new will be ready by fall, right?
Yeah, it's getting there for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, we could see show the transition.
yeah, so we could have some live,
Sure.
or not live, but some shots of the
Right.
construction and what's been completed to date and
Yes,
edit that into stories. Wonderful.
right, right.
Okay, well, thank you for your willingness to play this adventure. It definitely has the potential for a lot of fun and for everybody to
For
come
sure.
together.
Yeah, and the stories for our residents are always so touching and moving, and they're very motivating. So I enjoy that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and that's, we had talked about as a bit of a theme this year of getting more testimonials and getting more stories, so that would, you know, fit right in. Excellent, so maybe I'll ask for a resolution just to confirm, and we're asking Richard to take the lead on coming back to the committee with a proposal to consider a pledge drive in partnership with Eastlink. Does that sound close enough to a resolution?
Staff can assist with the proposal as well.
With staff's assistance and committee members' assistance as available.
Do we want the proposal back at our July meeting or at the August meeting?
I think it might be August, so if we have a meeting towards the end of August, do you think, Richard, that might be feasible, even just a little draft or an update
Yep.
to report at our August meeting?
Mhm.
Okay. So may I have a mover and seconder? Jamie? Okay, perfect. And the vote?
Amaryllis Juilliard,
Yes.
Pete Barber. Ruth Ann Perrin. Yes. Richard Kasul,
Oh, yes.
Jamie Chapman,
Yes.
Kay Haynes,
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
7-0, the motion is carried.
Terrific, thank you. That's exciting. Okay, so our, next on the agenda is the donation update from our Director of Financial Services. Hello, Jennifer. Make sure you're unmuted. We'll have a look at our latest financials.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, and I think it was circulated today or Friday.
Today, I apologize for the delay in getting this out to everyone. One of the items that I think is really exciting is the potential for a telethon. I think that's really exciting to hear, and I can hear everyone's excitement about the possibilities of that. So the last committee report was heard up to and including May 14th, 2022. This report indicates that the overall fundraising total has slightly decreased by $3,696 since that time, for a total of donations of $288,741. The reason for that is that I can go to the next page. That the May financial report had included some estimates of approximately $5,000 in outstanding revenue, which still had to be collected from the gala. And since that report, details regarding the outstanding revenue and expenses from the gala have been further finalized. Estimates have now been removed, and the current report more accurately reflects those totals per category since the May financial report. There is an amount listed under the in-kind donations that includes $2,100 in gifted items for the gala. So below are the updated 2022 year-to-date totals along with the historical amounts for 2021. So to date, in 2022, you have reached approximately 49% of your goal, with approximately 16% of the overall campaign total. So that's where you're sitting today. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'll turn it over to committee members for any questions, clarification, comments. Right, and the 16% is only like this year's portion of the entire campaign. If we include last year's total, so I don't think we're showing that percentage, but I think when I was looking at it earlier today, it was about 42%. If you
Yes, and I can make that change for the next committee report if that's how you wish to present it.
Just to encourage us.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. So, but I think, so yeah, so 42% of the entire campaign with, a year and a half to go. I think it's almost like 50%, almost at the 50% mark. So I think we should be very proud of that. And I see, and I've said before that I think we're just getting started in terms of momentum and being back to being out there in the community and being able to do things together. So I can only imagine how much better we'll be continuing to do. So other than that, and last year we didn't quite reach the full annual amount, so that's why we could in fact this year reach for a little more. So including last year's amount plus this year, and I know we can do that. All set then for the financial report. So if I could get a mover and seconder to receive and file this financial report. With many thanks to Jennifer. Mover?
Yeah, Richard.
And Richard as a seconder.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Amaryllis Juilliard,
Yes.
Pete Barber. Yes. Ruth Ann Perrin,
Yes.
Richard Sewell,
Yes.
Jamie Chapman,
Yes.
Kay Haynes.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer,
Yes,
7-0, the motion is carried.
thank you. Thank you again, Jennifer. The next item on the agenda is committee recruitment. So we have received a new member application, which was also in your package. So this one, because it was not an appointment through one of the municipalities, is coming straight from the community to the committee. So we need to endorse this application and recommend that council appoint this person on our committee. So wanted to double check with everybody to see if you are in favor of welcoming a new member from the community. Just looking at my package. Sorry for the noise with the pages. Any comments, any objections? And everybody feels comfortable with the profile? Bridget Clark Carmichael?
Yeah, that's okay.
Richard, you're in support, yeah?
I am in support, yeah.
Great.
She's in the right area because she's on the east end. Yes. Nobody there.
Yes, that would be nice to balance the whole committee. And as we said again, that one of our goals this year was to go county-wide. So, yeah, I think that sounds like a great opportunity, great background. So if there's no further discussion needed, I'll entertain a motion to, that the committee recommend to council that Bridget Clark Carmichael be appointed to the Comforts of Home campaign. May I have a mover and seconder for that? Amaryllis, Jamie, and the vote.
Amaryllis Juilliard,
Yes.
Keith Martin,
Yes.
Ruth Ann Perrin,
Yes.
Richard Kasul,
Yes.
Jamie Chapman,
Yes.
Kay Haynes.
Yes.
Councillor Jiguer.
Yes.
7-0, the motion is carried.
Great. Okay, so fundraising strategies. So it says events to attend, promotional materials needed, and at our last meeting, we left a few things to investigate and discuss. So we have a few updates for you. Where to start? The main thing we discussed was the attendance at various events. So staff were able to put a list together, which we're going to share on, we can circulate by email, but we'll also, it's going to be in the Google spreadsheet.
Share it on the,
Yep, so you can see it on the screen. It's tiny.
I was gonna say, we can't see.
Right now, but just to show a list of possible events, starting with the earliest would be in BAM, so July 30th, and going to, I think the last one is Wallastown at the end of September. So that could give us, again, a nice,
What about the Elmer Fair?
yeah, I think it's there, August 13th, 14th.
Oh, okay, I thought you said August 3rd, but I thought it was before that.
Yeah, so from July 30th to September 30th, there's a potential of about 6 or 7 events. And with various fees that seem fairly reasonable. If we think we can, so for example, if we think we can collect more than $100 per event, if we can get donations for more than $100, I think we would recoup our money. I think that's the most expensive is the Calypso Port Stanley event. Otherwise, it's either free or $20, $25.
and we are waiting on a few, as you can see, some of the events, they're not clear yet whether they're happening. There are ones that are confirmed, and then we're waiting on some information about deadlines for booking from some of the events. So as staff receive this back from these organizations, we'll update this in real time.
So last time we agreed in principle. Hi, Richard, can you mute your connection? Thank you.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. Thought you were going for the Calypso. getting in the spirit of the event already. So the committee agreed in principle that this would be a good idea to have a presence at those events. And if you think that's reasonable, then the next step would be for each of us to sign up. And I think if we have one or two people per event, then we can probably like do a little schedule, and nobody should have to attend more than, or it should be perfectly according to your availability. And if there's an event that we can't attend at all, that's okay too. We'll go again with the availability. And there's always an opportunity if Elgin Tourism is attending the same event, we can always pair up in terms of covering for each other. And so let's say only one person can do one shift. If you need a bathroom break, I think, and vice versa. So there's that. And I think, does it say, Catherine, on this, whether tourism is attending? Like, maybe we can add that information just so we know if we have backup.
I can add that. I'll reach out to Lindsay in tourism. We do have a tourism summer student who started a few weeks ago, so I do assume, actually, we can probably assume that most things after Labor Day, the student won't be attending.
Right.
As they'll be back in school likely.
Okay.
But I can reach out to our tourism officer and see which ones tourism has confirmed they're attending.
Yes.
Just for specific events, would it be appropriate to enlist some local volunteers to help us out? Because I think about, because of Wallacestown Fair, I mean, I do a lot of volunteering that weekend, but I bet I could round up, and I'm sure in each of our respective areas, we could probably round up a volunteer or two to help us out for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And even a student.
Yeah.
Students need community hours.
Absolutely.
If it's a student who's some are more mature than others, and if it's a field they're interested in, it would be a good opportunity for them.
Yeah. So if we're okay with going ahead, then we'll circulate this to already start signing up so that you can each choose the location and date that works. So we'll get a sense. And then whoever is signed up for that event can also be the lead for, like, say, okay, I'll take care of, the Elmer Fair, and then I'll recruit a couple of students, or like you'd be the main contact. And I think between all committee members, we will be able to spread it out. So then we talked about, so first off, I think that this is great, again, a chance to be in the community. Now we need to talk about what do we do at this booth and this kiosk to attract and interact with the community. So last time we talked about a raffle, so staff investigated that further. And even though we have charitable status, it's a little bit complicated in terms of the rules. Long story short, we don't qualify for, as a municipality, to run a raffle, which another municipality would have to issue the license to. So not so much, but still lots, I think, lots to do. We can invite donations right on the spot. Like, we can take donations, we can accept checks, and we can be set up with, like we had at the gala, with the credit card payment. And I've approached previous donors, and we can talk about specifics of individuals in terms of making sure that we would have a banner of some sort that's specific to comforts of home, so something that goes with our branding.
So if we have hydro at these events and we have Wi-Fi, we could show a reel of our.
Yes. So like anything that's been recorded to date, or a video of the rendering. There's a video on our website of the facilities and the design. So yes, so we can, so depending, and that can be optional. So like if we can't have power or electronics for whatever reason, but then I think we can still do without. But if we can, I think that's a great idea.
The residents come.
Well, we can invite them, you never know.
You know, if Terrace Lodge has transportation, don't they?
And some might want to come with they don't have their transportation, but they have caregivers or family members who may want to bring them to an event. But for sure, like having a flag, like something, something that moves, like not like a banner, but more of an outdoor flag. There was also a suggestion of doing bookmarks. So nice, something that you can take away, doesn't take too much, so we can distribute that. And it's always try to ensure that it doesn't end up on the ground or in the garbage, just, 50 steps further. So a bookmark is, something that you can use right away. So if we can get that printed as a donation, would you be in favor of, so would have, the promoting the campaign and all the contact information?
We did fridge magnets for the Team Up to Clean Up for the Optimist Club, and it had information on them. And they were very inexpensive.
Yeah,
Make it
Yeah.
in the shape of our little
Yeah,
house.
just like a business card size.
yeah,
I would talk to our treasurer, secretary treasurer, and find out exactly who she ordered and what the costing
what the
was.
cost was.
Send that on to you.
Perfect. So in principle, then, is everybody in agreement with a little giveaway, that's something useful, not too expensive, because we do have to keep our costs down? So a flag, a little giveaway, and there are a couple of other possibilities. I will talk to other colleagues who have done sometimes like a children, like a craft kit. So it comes in a little bag, so it's all in one, but it's something to do at our table so parents, while we chat them up about the great benefits of comforts of home and Terrace Lodge, and then there's something to do, which can also be a way to attract visitors. So not a big raffle, but something, again, as long as it's inexpensive and easy. I won't commit any of us to doing face painting, for example, because I can't do that. But something that could attract.
I just had an idea.
Yeah.
My daughter works for Dotsie the Clown, and she doesn't do face painting, but she does do glitter tattoos.
Ooh.
I might get her we might be able to do that.
Okay.
That was
And if-
just her calling me.
And even if it's just it doesn't have to be, the commitment doesn't have to be for all our event, but whichever.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think anything,
them lined
any
up down.
suggestions? So let's, between now and the next meeting, I invite each committee members to look into, again, something inexpensive for children would be great, and something to give away, and then we can make our final decision. Great. The other thing we talked about would be to have the book for sale, the These Hands book.
Oh, yes.
So I think that can be another reason to visit the booth. So it's a beautiful book, and we are allowed to print, and then beyond the grant, it allows us to print. We can pay for the printing or see if we can have an in-kind donation, but the price, the sales price would cover the cost anyway. So we'd make sure if it costs $20 to print it, we sell it for $50, and so there's a donation, and people can get a receipt for the donation part, I believe. So we could have the book for sale. We could also have one print for sale. And remember the ones that, but at the gala.
For sale, or could we do it as an auction item?
So that, so that could be, so one idea would be, instead of a raffle, we could say that all donors will be entered into a draw. So, and it doesn't have to be just the donors, we can say all the donors to the campaign by the end of this year, we will have a draw, and that is okay, doesn't qualify as a raffle, but it could be a nice display that we have at the booth. And we say, you know, through your donation, you will qualify to perhaps win this beautiful print. So I think that would be, you know, not too much, just enough of different things to attract and just have the conversation going, because even throughout the summer, we can plant some seeds around Christmas giving, legacy giving. We need to make sure we have brochures. We can take a few either from Terrace Lodge or from the libraries and make sure that our kit, so the idea is we'll basically have a kit that will go from event to event that can have the books and the legacy brochures and the flag, and whoever will pass the kit to each other from event to another. How does that sound? Sounds like fun. So, and by all means, again, we'll go by availability. I'm not concerned at all if we have 4 committee members who want to go to one event and we're unable to go to another. I think it's fine. We'll go, we do what we can. And as far as I'm concerned, the more the merrier. So we don't have to overthink or overplan this. We'll just get as much coverage as possible and as much fun as possible. So that will cover the events. So I think that's it for that item. Any questions, comments? And we'll circulate the spreadsheet as early as tomorrow. I think we can probably do that. We can start signing up and make some plans. Okay, so if there are no questions, then I think we're there. We talked about on the action items list, we talked about a catalog. So we're still looking at that to make sure, for example, at the booth, at those events, there would be at least 1 copy or 2 of a catalog that would have all of the items that we're fundraising for this year. And we'd like to make sure that all committee members have at least 1 copy of the catalog, so that at any time, if somebody says, well, what else are you fundraising for? So we're working with staff, and also I've reached out back to Elmer Express, who had done all of our brochures to date, and to see if they could help us out to have something just very, very basic, but still we want it to look professional and have the entire list of items. Meanwhile, the website is continuing to be updated, but it is available now. So if you have any donations or donors or you want to send to the website, it has been fixed. It's updated from Christmas, and plus it's been updated since it went down. So everything is back up. Right now it's in different categories of amounts, but we relooked at the list, and I think we're gonna regroup it in themes. Remember, the overall theme's a lot around recreation. So there's indoor recreation, outdoor recreation, there's kitchen, baking, programming. It has a long list of items. And so we'll have those 4 or 5 categories, and within each category, you can see items from $50 to $5,000. Technology is another category. So, but right now, even if you were to go now, it is like the items that you see are already, it's all been updated. So don't hesitate to, because I know I was hesitant for a little while to send anybody to the website, because it wasn't totally up to date, but it is now. So go right ahead. We're back in business.
Dominic, what I done for when I was out canvassing, I made myself a little booklet.
Nice.
You're more technical than me.
I get a special delivery too. I get to see it. Fantastic. Look at that. For our, we can circulate that. Right,
I
with the
found-
list of items, yeah.
I didn't put no prices because I thought if the prices weren't right on our sheet that we had gotten earlier,
That's right.
then we'd be short, so.
Neat. Very nice. Yeah, I think that's the idea, is to have at least a few items on something tangible that you can bring with you and people can flip through. So do you want to send that to, do you want to email it to me? Well, or,
You can have that one if you'd
Okay.
like.
nice. Yeah, so we'll see within, I guess, next week or so, at least we'll aim for the first event that we have by the end of July, but also even for the rest of the year, so that everybody has a catalog, which is something I know you've requested a few times, so thank you for your patience on that, but I think it is a good idea, so we can move forward on that. And I think the only other sort of business arising, but the other opportunity that has come up, which staff are investigating, is a grant through Trillium. There's an infrastructure, or not infrastructure, a capital, can't remember what, capital items that, for the community, that for some of the big ticket items that we're looking for, especially for outdoors, like there's a swing and music therapy, and so those, it looks, at first glance, it looks like we may qualify for that. So we are going, the deadline is August 2nd, so we'll have an update in July and we'll report on that. But it looks like we might qualify, so staff are going to help us pursue that. So that could be really good news. Okay, so I think those are all the updates and strategies. If that's okay, I'll just, if there are no questions or comments on that, I'll just give an update on the donor recognition opportunities. So we talked about perhaps doing something in July, but it's coming way quickly. And upon further discussion, we thought, as we realized in terms of the terms of reference and how this committee, like, there's sort of a closing a chapter in November, and hopefully starting another chapter right after, we could do a combination of donor recognition, committee and volunteer recognition, and the launch of the Christmas catalog, all at the sort of first week of November, and which would coincide with the end of the term of this committee. And because what I sort of canvassed a few donors, and they were ambivalent about a donor recognition event. It felt like with the vibe I was picking up said, well, but you want to spend money, like it's technically it's my money that you're spending, and we want all the money to go to Terrace Lodge, but there, if we're launching also the Christmas campaign at that point, and we're also recognizing our community volunteers and committee members, then it's a multifaceted event. It's not just the focus on donors, but it's another opportunity for pictures and checks and sort of promotional event. So the idea, interested in your thoughts, if we don't do it, still worth doing, but combined with other aspects, and
Do it as a fundraising dinner and charge money for them to come and do recognition at the
come and pay and be recognized.
Yes. Because isn't that what we did at the gala?
Yeah,
So couldn't we do something like that? Come and pay and be recognized, and we're gonna hit you up for more donations for our Christmas.
That's right.
campaign. But we could do it so that maybe we give one ticket to the big donors to come,
right.
so that they don't pay for their ticket, but other people do, so just.
Yeah,
Is it crazy to think we could do it to promote the telethon?
Oh, yes, see, that would be cool.
I don't know,
As a-
that will
as
depend
a
on Richard's
lady,
proposal.
Be here.
Oh, you're gonna volunteer though, aren't you?
Yeah.
Bring the baby with you.
Yeah,
We are looking to the child's future, but when 70 years from now.
that's right.
When they have to put me in them.
Yeah, that's right. So let's say in principle, does the committee agree with an event of some sort? Well, we can decide, so should we do a meal, should we do just refreshments? But an event that would recognize donors, recognize volunteers and committee members, and kick off the Christmas donation campaign and the Christmas catalog. So again, we could, let's hear tonight if there's support in principle, then think about who might be the lead on that, and then perhaps coming up also with a proposal, like, again, putting some thought towards, should it be a dinner, should it be some, like, just evening refreshments or afternoon, or like those kinds of ideas could be more fleshed out. So in principle, what do we think as a committee? Is it too much? Or Richard, go ahead.
Yeah, the idea of having anything to do with food wrapping up such agendas is always good. There is something good that comes out of food, so I'll be in very big support of that.
Okay.
Either dinner or refreshments,
Yeah.
either one of them is good.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Are you in support, or any objection? It's like, no, this is too much, or it's not right, or it doesn't fit, or. So if I'm kind of hearing support through the silence, I'd be willing to give it some more thought, and I'll start jotting some notes based on some input from tonight. And then come back to the committee for.
We have lots of time to plan that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, see, we have lots of time, because that's why I say, well, yeah, let's push it back to November. That'll give us more time, and then we'll be back to, it's like, oh, it's in 2 months. We gotta do it now. So, and I can always then connect with you, Richard, to see if there is a connection to the pledge drive as well. Maybe make it all happen at once. Okay, so that's it for all of the updates and other business. Correspondence, there was none. So be ready to move into closed session. If that's okay with everybody, I'll entertain a motion to the committee move now in closed session. Seconder? Jamie? Amaryllis? And the vote?
Amaryllis Drouillard,
Yes.
Pete Barber,
Yes.
Ruth Ann Perrin. Richard Kasul,
Yes.
Jamie Chapman,
Yes.
Kay Haynes.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer,
Yes.
7-0, the motion is carried.
Where's the makeup crew? Go live again. Fix my hair. Thank you. So I will now entertain a motion to rise and report. Mover and seconder? Okay. Ruth Ann? And the vote.
Amaryllis Drouillard,
Yes.
Pete Barber,
Yes.
Ruth Ann Perrin,
Yes.
Richard Kasul,
Oh, yes.
Jamie Chapman,
Yes.
Kay Haynes.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer,
Yes.
7-0, the motion is carried.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So, is there a motion to receive? Yes.
Results of the confidential report titled Donor Outreach Update from the Manager of Administrative Services be received and filed.
Thank you. Mover and seconder to receive the report. Amaryllis? Jamie? And the vote.
Amaryllis Juilliard,
Yes.
Pete Barber,
Yes.
Ruth Ann Perrin,
Yes.
Richard Kasul,
Yes.
Jamie Chapman,
Yes.
Kay Haynes.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
7-0, the motion is carried.
All right, so the date of the next meeting, do we want to look at July 18th? Or do we need to look at Central Elgin's schedule?
Yes, it is, 18th would be appropriate, because it's not the 2nd or the 4th. We may end up being completely virtual if our chambers are under construction, I'm not quite sure yet.
Okay. Okay, so everybody heard that, so it could be that we go back to all virtual if this location is not available, or that we go to another location if it's easy. So location to be confirmed. Is everybody okay with July 18th,
Guess so.
7 o'clock?
Yes.
Wonderful, okay, looking forward to it. And with that then, let's adjourn. Mover and seconder?
Yeah, Richard.
And Richard.
I'm in a hurry now.
Amaryllis Juilliard,
Yes.
Pete Barber,
Yes.
Ruth Ann Perrin,
Computer.
Richard Kasul,
Oh, yes.
Jamie Chapman,
Yes.
Kay Haynes.
Yes.
Counselor Jiguer.
Yes.
7-0, the motion is carried.
Great, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Good luck, Richard, with the end.